Aboro, Aboye, and Ekurole. Today, we are going to discuss two things. We're going to discuss success and we are going to discuss money, but from a different perspective, from a psychological perspective. So, in starting, I am going to read an essay IFA from Obara Ogunda. It reads, Amodu Ojina, Kenyo Mahue Bujeo, Tafunuron Mila, Tio Tiori Akapo, Ori Bonu Ibo, Iboni Won Niko Washe, Og Ibo Orubo, Igbati Oron Mila Tiori Akpo, Rebunu Igbo, La Jewa Iru Rugubu, Iro Ipo Atiofa, Iwa Bani Bayo, Iwa Wore. The English reads, Next year is not far. Let no one eat what they are supposed to plant. Ifa message for Urunmila when going to subject his Akapo to Ifa initiation rites. He was advised to offer Ebo. He complied. When Urunmila subjected his Akapo to Ifa initiation rites, the era of financial success came trooping in. Travelers to Ipo and Ofa tongues, join us in the midst of joy. Come and perceive all era of life. Now, the explanation given for this is IFA advises students of divination to step up their game of study, dedication, and work for family and nation building. All right, so that was the Hudu Ifa reading for this afternoon. And I'm going to read today a bit. And, in between, I would give some insight in terms of what my views are on some of the things that I'm about to read. All right. I'm going to read some of the information from a book called The Millionaire Mind that deals quite a bit with what is success. Now, we know that in the African tradition, the value systems are somewhat different. The approaches are somewhat different. But yet, there are some things that are common in all society as far as human characteristics are concerned. All right. Some of the things that probably I'm going to read about is going to be aspects of character that invites success or invites ire, right? And by the way, happy holiday for all those who are celebrating holidays at this time, right? For those who celebrating the so-called birth of Jesus, and for those who are just using this time to prepare themselves for next year, based on the Julian calendar, and for those who are just using this time to relax and to spend time with family. All right. Maybe on the next stream, I may start looking at things like real estate and those types of investments. right? The last show, what we did was financial instruments, and on that show, I spoke about two types of financial instruments, right? We still have to deal with things like banking and insurance, right? To give viewers an idea what or how these institutions are to be used in order to achieve your financial objective. All right. But as I said, today's stream is going to be dedicated towards success, and we're going to look at money from a psychological perspective, from a different angle, because money, I'm afraid, is something that a lot of us do not look at from different perspectives, right? Most of us just look at money as either something we spend or something we invest, right? But there are other dimensions to money, and some of those things are also tied along with success. All right. I am going to start off by reading from a section of the book that deals with the factors that sort of figures in to a person having what is called economic success. All right. This section of the book that is called the Millionaire Mind um, outlines some of the qualities that sort of supports real success. All right. The social skills that they list here, I think, plays an important role also in character development. All right. Here they start by listing four important social skills that people should have. The first skill they listed here is getting along with people or with others. The second thing listed here is having strong leadership qualities. The third thing they list is having the ability to sell your ideas and products. And the final thing they have listed here is having good mentors. So let's talk about these four things a little bit before we move on towards uh, other factors. The first thing they list is getting along with people. All right, how does that sort of figure in to being successful? How does that figure in to having good character? All right, for a person to experience any measure of economic success, it would be very important for them to interact with large numbers of people. If you're doing business, you will be depending on persons to support your business, whether it's a manufacturing business or a service related business. In most service related businesses, you deal mostly directly with your customers. So, having good skills in communicating with others is an essential skill for the success of any business you may be pursuing. In general, in life, being able to get along with other people helps you along the way, in that a lot of the things that you may want to do, you would have to, at some point, depend on other people to either assist you along the way or to help in some sort of a way. So, as a result of which, it becomes absolutely necessary that you interact with other people. All right, the second thing listed is having strong leadership qualities. And particularly if you're involved in community organizing, if you're involved in business planning, or even business execution, if you do a business, it would be very important for you to have what is referred to here as good leadership qualities. All right. Um, if you're in business, the importance of being a leader is that you would have employees and you would want your employees to be able to feel comfortable, to be able to do to fulfill their responsibilities properly without probably feeling that you're always on their back. You also would want to know that they are able to perform and fulfill the responsibilities that was given to them. And a lot of times it requires a lot of tact, skills, and acumen in order to be able to get people to do things. I believe an important part of being a strong leader or a quality leader is being able to identify the abilities of people who work for you. That particular skill almost always guarantees that people are able to undertake responsibilities which they have the capacity to perform. All right. A lot of times in hiring people, and this is from my own personal experience in business, sometimes in hiring people, the person may be well qualified for the job, um, but it may not be something that they actually want to do. So as a result, you may hire that person and you may find they may have problems performing or carrying out their responsibilities. Sometimes it's not that they lack capacity, sometimes the person could do the job, but they're just not interested. So sometimes in interviewing people, or even sometimes in hiring, it really pays dividends to find out what a person's interest is. That's why sometimes when you go for an interview, they may ask you, what is your hobby? You know, because they want to know what interest you have, you know. And sometimes too, based on a person's response when you're interviewing them for a job, when you ask them, what's their hobby? And you notice from the time the person start talking about their hobby, the person whole temperament change. And the person seem to be all excited to talk about the hobby. Knowing these things sometimes would allow you to be able to place your employees in a comfortable place where they could probably find some space to exercise a skill that might be related to their natural ability and their natural aptitude. Right? One of the things I used to do is I used to examine employees' birth charts very carefully. Right? I mean, I am not going to go into numerology right now, but what I am saying is finding out what is a person's ability and giving them a responsibility based on what is their natural inclination, allow the person to perform their task without feeling like they are being burdened or pressured. It brings out the natural abilities in the person, hence the person don't meet too many challenges, and hence they sort of enjoy their job. All right. That is just some aspects, of course, of having strong leadership qualities. Now, another thing that is mentioned here is having the abilities to sell your ideas and products. Now, you may be a highly skilled person, right? And you may have the ability to produce very skillful and artistic work. You know, if you're in catering, you might be able to prepare very tasty dishes. You know, you might be able to have the necessary aesthetics that would make people want to consume your meal. Now, I want to say this. They talk about being able to sell your idea and product. You must understand that success is when ability meets opportunity. Because you may have a very nice finished product, you may have a high level of skill, of artistic skill. But if your ability isn't presented at the right time, which is opportunity, then success may not occur. So, as a person who has skills, one of your responsibilities is to always be prepared for the minute that the opportunity presents itself. So, remember, you must have the ability to sell yourself. You must be looking for that opportunity, and you must always be prepared to display or to show what you have, so that when that opportunity or the window opens, that you can make the best use of it. All right. And the last thing that is listed is something very, very important. They say having good mentors. Right. I would say this, especially for members of our community. Mentorship, in the case of persons who trying to be successful in a business of their own, sometimes comes in some really strange ways and forms. All right. I think one of the main ways we learn a skill, or that we learn business, is from actually working for someone else. So sometimes mentorship comes through employment experiences. Uh, what I believe a person should do as an individual is, it doesn't matter what type of job you do, but you must always take the time to comprehend all aspects of whatever you do as a vocation. Why? You can never tell if one day you may have a business like the same business, and you would be required to know as much as you could know in order to be successful. That's one. Two, you may not have a business in that particular field. You may do some other type of business. But some way along the line, a situation may come up where that particular knowledge set or skill set might be of great value to you. You may need a service that is related to something you used to do. As a result of the knowledge you have and the skill you have, yes, you may not do it yourself. You might bring in other people to do it. But because you worked in that avocation at some point in your past, you still are aware of all aspects of it. So the persons who you hire to perform the particular task would not be able to deceive you in any way, because you're familiar with the processes. All right. But again, going back to the issue of mentorship, when you work for someone, most of us, quite a lot of us, look at it as an issue of, well, I just want my salary. Well, yeah, I could understand you wanting your salary, but also the skills that you're having an opportunity to develop from learning, you should capitalize on it. Whether or not you plan to have a long-term career in this or in some other place, it doesn't make a difference. One of the things is, when a person is an employer and they have workers and they notice there is a particular worker that is making an effort to learn and to be more productive, the employer tends to want to promote that person, pay that person more, and is more inclined to promote that person to the next level as long as the opening presents itself for that individual. So distinguishing yourself wherever you work is of benefit to you one way or another. All right. Now, the other part of success deals with critics, right? And this section is called orientation towards critics. And it goes on to list uh, three things that are important for success with business. The first thing listed here is ignoring the criticisms of detractors. Now, I think this one is a little bit ticklish because I would say this much. Sometimes criticisms can be constructive. So, any person who comes to you and says something as negative as the thing may appear to be to you, it is always sensible to listen. If the situation requires an explanation on your part, give one. If it does not warrant an explanation, depending on the uh, mentality of the person who bring it to you, you may not need to respond. But criticism, particularly constructive criticism, should always be considered. But if it is just a detractor now, this is a person whose intention is not to criticize you with the aim of having things improve, but their intention is to destroy what you do, then such a person, of course, should be ignored. All right, the second thing about critics listed here is having a competitive spirit or personality. Now, in the field of business, competition is considered a good thing, at least from the consumer end, because it drives the prices down. All right, but you would always hear the term when it comes to working with other people, being what is called a team player. That's a term that is used quite a bit in most corporations and spaces where people work together. You would also hear about the same competitive spirit or persons with competitive personalities. Because our tradition thrives on community work and community, a sense of community, the issue of competition is not the type of spirit that we try to foster too much, particularly in young people, because it could be something that could work out to be very, very damaging. Okay? Especially when a child is young. You don't want to engage them in too many competitions. All right? I think a good sort of example of the type of protection that takes place in the field of sports is in England. When you are a young soccer player and you're playing in all these little leagues that all the youths play in, they do not publicize these things too much. They do not allow these youths to receive too much publicity. They try to protect them from that type of exposure, the type of highly competitive environment and all of the hostilities that are introduced to professional sports. They try to protect them as much as possible from that until they reach a particular phase of development and a certain age, then they expose them to that sort of a thing. So let me just take it back now to competition. Now, in our work environment where people compete against each other for promotions, for pay hikes, and just generally some people, feel the need to always make themselves better than the next person. It is not a positive when people embrace competition where they do unfair things to other human beings in order to get ahead of them. It is not a good thing when people practice all sorts of underhanded behavior in order to get a promotion ahead of somebody else. Now, for many employers, that might be entertainment, it might be a sport, but it is something that could be very demoralizing to human beings, and it is also something that could be very destructive. So if you are an employer and you create the type of workspace that is very competitive, after a while it becomes a hostile environment, and it becomes psychologically uncomfortable for your workers. So much so sometimes at the time the workers are not encouraged to come to work because they fear and they wish they could shun being in a space that is like that, that is not comfortable. All right. The third things they listed is having the urge to be well respected. Every human being alive have the desire to be respected and to be treated with respect. If you're an employer and you're creating an environment for workers, if you're a worker and you're functioning in an environment, you would like to be respected. And I don't mean just by your peers. I'm talking about even too by your employer. You come to work every day, you work very hard for 8 hours, you would expect that your employer would treat you fairly as the first thing. And when I say fairly, we're talking about wages, we're talking about the various considerations, that you have a little break when you're tired, that you have an hour or a half an hour or how much ever you need to sit and have a proper meal before you go back to work. That if some unforeseen circumstance comes up concerning your domestic situation, that you be given some sort of consideration. So I'm talking about from both sides. And you as a worker to not abusing your employer when he provides some sort of a privilege for you. All right. So these are just some of the factors that deals with economic success. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a list of success factors. Right? And then I would go back to some of the areas of the social skills. I'm going to quickly read this list. The first thing on the list is being honest with all people. That is one of the very important factors to be successful. Being honest. Being well disciplined is the second thing. The third one, getting along with people, which I've just read. Fourth, having a supportive spouse. Working harder than most people. Loving your career. Having strong leadership qualities. Having a very competitive spirit or personality. And as I mentioned, within our tradition, this might be considered a negative. Being very well organized, having the ability to sell your ideas or product, making wise investments, seeing opportunities others do not see, being your own boss, willing to take financial risk given the right returns, having good mentors, having an urge to be well respected, investing in your own business, finding a profitable niche, having extraordinary energy, being physically fit, having a high IQ or superior intellect, specializing, attending a top rated college, ignoring the criticism of detractors, living below your means, having strong religious faith, being lucky, investing in the equities of public corporations, having excellent investment advisors, and graduating near the top of your class. All right, these are some of the factors. All right, now some of the things listed here was mentioned before, and some of them are going to be mentioned now. All right, orientation towards criticism continues. They talk about here having extraordinary energy. All right, let's talk about that a little bit. One of the factors of success for most people is the issue of always being very charismatic, being energetic, having a positive attitude towards whatever it is you're doing, always approaching it with vigor and strength. When other people see that, it encourages them. When other people sees that, they feel motivated to want to associate with you. When other people see that in you, they want to come to your business. They want to participate in that energy. They want to participate in that positivity. So always having that extraordinary energy and that positivity is a very important factor. That charisma. All right. The other thing listed is being physically fit. Well, of course, that would depend on several factors, right? But having good health is an essential, anyhow you look at it, because it optimizes your brain function and your ability to think. It optimizes your ability to do things and to do them quickly and efficiently. All right. Now, I want to acknowledge people who are on the live, Mr. William Porter, Queen Nikki, and whoever else is here with me. Some of you all, I can't see your presence, but I am seeing that there are several people on the live. So let me continue. Now, the other thing on the list here is integrity and moral values, right? And I want to speak on that a little bit. Having a sense of ethics, having a sense of morale, okay, and having a sense of moral value is very important. And I'm going to read first and then I will talk after. The first thing they list under integrity is being honest with everyone. The second thing they have is having a supportive spouse. The third thing they have is having strong religious faith. So now let me go to the top and start with the first of the first. We now live in a society that breeds dishonesty. We live in a society where they tell you talking the truth might cost you your job. It might cost you this, it might cost you that. Now, mind you, when we talk about being truthful with everyone, we're not talking about being nasty and trying to hide that as truth. Because you can be truthful and be very pleasant and be very tactful and be very tasteful. But if you do it without tact and without taste, then it may not even be truth. It might be willful, malicious behavior being hidden as truth. All right? So being honest doesn't mean being abrasive. All right? When they talk about being honest here, we are talking about in a way in which it is amiable, amicable, and allow other people to be comfortable with what expressions you bring towards them as truth. Okay? The second thing they list here is having a supportive spouse. And this for people who are married, right? And for people, and when I say married, it doesn't, if you're living together, you're married. If you're in a long-term relationship, a serious relationship that heading somewhere, you're in a marriage. Because the word marry means to unite two things. People confuse marry or marriage with marriage ceremony. Ceremony is going into one of these religious organizations and having a religious person sanction what you do. That is not marriage. That is a marriage ceremony. The marriage is the union between you and the person. So you could go into a religious organization, get sanctioned by a priest, and still not have a marriage if there is no unity between the two persons. All right? And I think the Pope mentioned that about 2 years ago and said the amount of people that really not married but has done ceremonies. but I am not going to go there. But having a spouse that is supportive is one of the main factors in successful persons' lives. So sometimes you may not have a supportive spouse, and that could be very disruptive to your success. So one of the important factors is having a supportive spouse. All right. The last thing under integrity and moral values listed is having strong religious faith. All right. Now, in terms of our community and in terms of our tradition, definitely having strong faith is going to help. But with that, I want to give a proviso. I want to warn people. Because of your spirituality or because you're part of the tradition does not mean that you must not follow a strict business acumen. Spirit might manifest and advise you on your business, but it wouldn't tell you give away all your products. Okay? So be very careful, people. Please. If you're an Ifa or Orisha devotee and you're running a business, even if members of your community participating in the service, still please carry on a business acumen that would ensure success with what you are doing. All right. If you wish to donate something to the Ile, you can do that. But we're not saying to give away your business. Please follow a strict business acumen. All right. Having strong religious faith ensures success because when things get difficult, you know where to go to get your strength. You know you can go to Oludumare, you know you could go before Yeshu and make the request for your able to be taken to whichever energy you want it sent to, because that is its function. All right. The other factor here is creative intelligence. All right, and it speaks about seeing opportunities that others do not see. All right, remember earlier I said that to be successful, there are two factors that are needed: skills or the ability to produce, and opportunity. When both of them meet, you have success. So as long as you could find opportunities and you have products and skills that could put you in the door, utilize the opportunities. And having the ability to see it is an important part of creative intelligence. The other thing listed here is finding a profitable niche. All right, let's go into that a little bit. Now, a lot of times, a lot of people think to have a successful business, you have to do what everybody else is doing. Well, I have a little bit of news for you. It don't really work so. If you want to go what other people into already, you had to come up with a product that a little bit different in order to be successful. Because sometimes people just get fed up of seeing and using the same thing. So if you come up with something that is different, but yet fits into a category that is already established, you could have success. But generally, when they talk about finding a niche, they are talking about having a product or service that is not very common. And not because something is uncommon, that means that the business would not succeed. What has to happen is you have to be able to market and sell your products and let people know that it is available. And as long as people know it's available, there your chances would come into existence where something could actually happen. All right. All right. Next thing on the list is specializing. I'm going to take a little time and try to explain the importance of specializing in something. Now, most people who do business tend to be specialists, right? But there are some people who tend to want to do a little bit of everything, like myself. Right? I might be the one very guilty of that. But when you're a person with a lot of skills, sometimes it becomes so confusing because you do something and other people see it and appreciate it. And then when they are done with you, you feel that is your life mission. But then you go and you do something else, the same thing happen. And then you do something else, the same thing happen. So then it leaves you confused. However, dedicating oneself to years of performing a particular service allows you to develop refined skills in that particular area. This is the importance of specializing. Now, for our community, I want to talk about specializing now, not just with one generation, but having a particular trade or skill pass from generation to generation to generation. In growing up, I have noticed among my people, a parent would have a particular type of business and would have children, and the children would go up and say, my father doing that all his life. Me, I want to do that. That boring. I ain't doing that. And they go and they pursue another career in something totally unrelated to what the grandfather and the father used to do. Now, let me explain the price that you pay for that. As a child, or as a young man or young woman who wants to be different, and you want to develop a career away from that which your family is a part of, it means you have to establish your own connections. Sometimes you have to get your own resources, because when you tell your parents you're not doing what they want you to do or what they're doing, sometimes they don't support you. So you have to look for resources. That's the first thing. Second thing is, now, if your parents in a field, they already have connections and they know lots of people from doing what they doing 2 or 3 generations ago. So when you come into that field, you will inherit those connections. You will inherit support not only from your parents, but from people in their network. But when you choose to go off on your own now and do something totally different, you're on your own, papa. You have to make your own connections. You have to gather your own resources. And I will tell you this too. When you fall down and you make mistakes, there is nobody who knows enough around you or in your lineage that could prop you up, because they don't know nothing about what you're doing. So, to say this, you would look around you and you would see other communities into specific trades that they have been doing for a very long time, from one generation to another generation. Of course, the benefits would have been what I just spoke about. Their children who inherit the business and has been around the business since they were toddlers would know the business in and out by the time they become an adult. And what this means also for the business is, not only do you have specialization of skills and high development of skills, but you would also have a continuation of innovation taking place in the particular field due to specialization. So I will encourage members of our community who are professional people and who have developed skills in particular areas, please become mentors and bring in young people, particularly your family members. Teach them the skill. And other young people who are in the community who wants to learn, teach the skills to them. You cannot take it with you when you go. So now I'm speaking to the mentors now a little bit. You've been doing carpentry all your life, or you've been doing masonry all your life. You become recognized as one of the most skilled masons or carpenter in your area. You're making money. Give something to the community now. Take a little orphan boy, or take the neighbor's son, or the fella who giving trouble down the road. Teach them the skill. Let them try to help themselves. Let them try to help the community. Let them take the level where you are of skill, where you are at with the skill you have, and allow them to build on that. Let them stand on your shoulder. It is okay. You're strong. You can take it. It doesn't matter if they slow down the work a little bit and you lose a little $200. You are known. You're making the money. It ain't like you're not making it. It's not going to kill you to train somebody else in your own community. All right? Let's go on. We move from specializing now to loving my career or business. Now, I want to tie in this here that may seemingly not have much to do with our tradition to having it to do something with the tradition. Now, loving your career or business has a lot to do with your life purpose. It have a lot to do with the mission that you are here to fulfill, and it have a lot to do with your aptitude. By aptitude, I mean your natural ability to gravitate towards learning particular things. If a person is initiated and they understand the governing Udu and they understand the energy that sits on them, it would put them in a position to decide what their career, the life direction, and everything is supposed to be. Once you pursue these things based on the guidance you receive, you would automatically find your life becomes considerably easier, because the things that you are now doing is what you are destined to do. So you would find you are able to do it with relative ease, without much challenges, without much challenges and without much difficulties. So I will encourage individuals who have never had a DAFA or a life reading done, or who's uninitiated, to be initiated and to try and figure out what your purpose and your mission is. It would aid definitely in your business and your career also. All right, let's move on. The next thing they talk about here for success is about investing in the stock market as well as investing in your own business, right? I don't want to promote the stock market thing too much. That is for when you reach a certain income level and you have money that you could invest. But I would definitely promote the concept of having your own business, as our community needs to have businesses that manufacturing goods and that are also providing services. All right, I want to acknowledge Aliyah Roberts Putala, who is now on the live stream. On the list here for investing, they talk about investing in the equities of the public corporations. So for people who are already established, yes, you could look at investing in the equity of public corporations. After that, there is having excellent investment advisors. Do not just pick up, even if you have, do not just pick up your money and go invest in it wild and without any type of knowledge or without any type of advice. I will suggest to you, just as it says here, having excellent investment advisors. Next to that is making wise investments. Even if you're investing in yourself too, you have to do it sensibly. Make sure you know something about the business before you go and you get into it. Right? The next thing listed is investing in your own business. Being your own boss. All right? Willing to take financial risk given the right returns. And living below your means. By living below your means, what do I mean? Don't spend more than you're earning. That's what they mean. All right? Now, the other thing on the list is luck versus discipline. All right? Luck ain't gonna bring you wealth. Right? And when I say that, I'm not saying you can't win a lotto. I'm not saying that you can't get lucky. But unfortunately, that does not happen to everyone. So keeping it a little bit on the realistic side, we're saying exercise discipline. Okay? Being well disciplined is important, because this is what is going to bring you into success. Saving your money, investing investing in yourself, investing in a business, that you exercise discipline to control and to make proper financial decisions. The other thing below that is being well organized. Having your business well organized is one of the main factors that would ensure some level of success. All right, and if you can't do it yourself, hire somebody to organize it. All right, sometimes having the right spouse is a great aid if you intend to own your own business. Having a wife or a husband who can support you and who have some levels of skill where they could actually help you get organized in this particular case. And the last thing under luck versus discipline is working harder than most people. All right. Now, I want to say something. I don't know if it's going to be taken controversial or not, right? But I remember growing up and hearing my grandfather say, he was a carpenter, by the way. He said, only two things that's work hard. And he called them things, I'm telling you just how he said. Only two things that's work hard. A jackass and a fool. All right? Now, by that, what he meant? He meant work smart. That is what he meant. All right? If you want results, the key is not working hard. The key is working smart. If you want to work hard, that's up to you. But if you work intelligently, you would produce more results than a person who working hard and not thinking of what they are doing. All right? So, working hard is important. But more important than working hard is working intelligently. All right, folks? So remember that. All right, the next thing that I have up on the list is intellectual orientation. And I really want to go hard on this, right? Because this is very, 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 very important. Because I don't want nobody here in this stream to feel that you have to be some big brain person in order to have a successful business. Because that is false. You don't have to be no super intelligent person to run a successful business. All right? Okay. The first thing they have here is having a high IQ or superior intellect. And I'm going to debunk this right away. The term IQ stands for intelligence quota, right? And it has a lot to do with your intellectual orientation. But what the intelligence quota test actually measures is not a person's natural aptitude or ability to learn. What it measures is a person's exposure to particular things. And let me explain by that what I mean. If you spend a lot of time reading, you are able to, through the eye of your imagination, travel to places that you naturally cannot board a plane and go to. So reading allows you to be exposed to quite a wide range of information and experiences expressed by other people who wrote the book. So a person who reads could very easily score high on an IQ test. It does not make them more intelligent or have more ability to learn than another person. All it does is it exposes them to a wider range of information. The intelligence quota also puts person who has resources at an advantage because such persons are able to take their children on trips all around the world. So their children is able to see things firsthand. So the children of wealthy people tend to score high on the IQ test simply because they can see more and they are exposed to more because of their family's wealth. Okay? So IQ has nothing to do with your ability to learn. Dump that idea. It is stupid. What IQ test does is it measures the things you're exposed to by asking you questions about a wide range of subjects. All right? So they say your intellectual orientation, and the first thing they mention is IQ, but IQ is not fair. Because as far as I'm concerned, to show how well a person would learn, or how quick a person can learn, is if you evaluate them about their environment and not necessarily about far places. Okay? All right, but let's move on to the other point. The other point is attending a top rated college. All right. I don't want to debunk it too, right? But what I will say is this: the difference in a lot of cases between a top rated and a not so well rated college is sometimes the faculty, right? The faculty that they have in these top rated college tend to be individuals who are well qualified, better qualified in some cases than who they have in the secondary schools. And in most instances, these people are more motivated to perform, not just because of the salary, but because of the prestige associated to the institutions that they teach. They go there and they work their butts off. They go there and they have to, because the principals there have expectations of them. And if they are underperformers, guess what? They will find themselves in another institution. Okay? So, attending the top rated colleges, sometimes it plays a part. Okay? Because if you go for the job and you have a degree, and your degree was acquired at a so-called prestigious institution, you are going to get the job before people whose degree did not come from there. So most of that is psychological. It has a lot to do with the way we perceive things and the way we are conditioned to perceive things. And the last but not least thing on this list here concerning intellectual orientation is graduating at the top of your class. All right? Yes, it helps. It definitely helps. All right? One of the reasons it helps is because a lot of the corporate organizations tend to look for the best people. And a lot of times when you have recommenders from educational institutions for people who are going to look for jobs, the ones who come with the recommendations from the recognized institutions, when they were on top of the other graduates, they sometimes get the favor of the job. All right, so that plays an important role. All right, well, it seems like tonight's program is coming to a close, and I did not even get into the psychological aspect of wealth and money, but basically I just covered the millionaire mind sort of thing that talk about different aspects of character and personality and mannerisms and behavior and characters that contributes towards success. So I want to remind you all that the videos could be seen on Ifa Bemero, Home of Ifa Tradition on YouTube. Also, there's a group by the same name on Facebook also. The video could be viewed on Green, Grassroots Entertainment and Education Network. It could be viewed on IFA Orisha Discussion Group Trinidad and Tobago. It could also be viewed in the IFA Orisha Congress. It could also be viewed on Irie Island Research Group and on most of the Orisha platforms, because I tried to share the videos. So if you see the video, please like, please connect with the websites that I've mentioned, YouTube and Facebook, and most importantly, share the link. All right. Thank you for viewing. And with that, I would say Odabo.